At 0342 local time, 60 Ukrainian FP-1 long-range attack drones crossed the coastline over the Black Sea, descending to 50 feet above the dark water. Their target was a high-value naval facility 120 miles away, housing the Admiral Essen, a Russian frigate loaded with Kalibr cruise missiles. Unknown to the Ukrainian operators sitting in a basement control room hundreds of miles away, their flight path had already been anticipated. A layered defense grid, stitched together from high-tech electronic warfare suites and desperate improvised measures was waiting for them. The objective was not just to strike the frigate, but to expose the terminal vulnerability of Russia's multi-billion-dollar air defense network. The FP-1 is essentially a flying pipe bomb, constructed from cheap composite materials, propelled by a commercial two-stroke engine, and guided by consumer-grade electronics. Each unit costs roughly $30,000, but carries an 80-pound explosive payload capable of ripping through steel bulkheads. They are slow, loud, and entirely unarmored, but their strength lies in their massive numbers. You do not send one to defeat a defense network, you send 60 to drown it. The radar cross-section is tiny, but the acoustic signature is like a lawnmower buzzing in the sky. The defense forces heard them long before the radars painted them, and the first interceptor was already in the air, waiting. Before we continue, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. At 0350, the first drone in the formation suddenly dissolved into a cloud of fiberglass and burning fuel. The Ukrainian operators watched their telemetry screens blink out, assuming a surface-to-air missile had found its mark. They were entirely wrong. The killer was a Yakovlev Yak-52, a Soviet-era propeller-driven trainer aircraft designed in the 1970s. In the back seat sat a Russian gunner armed with a standard 12-gauge pump-action shotgun. Against modern fighter jets moving at Mach 2, the FP-1 drone is an incredibly difficult target. It flies too slow and too low. A supersonic interceptor approaching a drone moving at 80 miles per hour has mere fractions of a second to acquire, aim, and fire before blowing past it. It is like trying to read a text message on a stranger's phone while driving past them on the highway at 100 miles per hour. But the Yak-52 cruises comfortably at 90 miles per hour. It can match the speed and altitude of the drone perfectly, flying in tight formation just 30 feet away. The gunner leaned out the canopy, racked the shotgun, and fired a blast of buckshot directly into the engine block of the second drone. The two-stroke motor seized instantly, and the drone tumbled into the sea below. Two cheap drones destroyed by an even cheaper handful of lead pellets. The defense had scored a massive, cost-effective victory in the opening minutes of the engagement. But the Yak-52 had a critical, unavoidable limitation. A pump-action shotgun only holds a handful of shells, and you cannot reload an aircraft's weapon systems in the middle of a high-speed dogfight. The gunner managed to swat down 4 more drones, leaving 54 still buzzing relentlessly toward the coast. The aircraft banked away, out of ammunition, leaving the rest of the swarm to face the next layer of the gauntlet. At 0415, the drones left the relative safety of the open sea and crossed into the operational envelope of a Russian R-330ZH Zytel electronic warfare system. Suddenly, 12 drones at the edge of the formation veered sharply to the left, diving toward an empty patch of ocean until they slammed into the waves. The operators in Ukraine scrambled to correct the flight paths, fighting their flight sticks, but the telemetry showed everything was perfectly normal. The drones believed they were flying straight and level. The Russian operators were not jamming the GPS signals, they were spoofing them. Jamming is like someone turning off the headlights on your car while you drive at night. You know you are blind. Spoofing is like someone secretly rotating your steering wheel while replacing your windshield with a fake video of a straight road. The drone's computer trusts the fake satellite data completely. It corrects its course to stay on the fake path, inadvertently flying itself directly into the ground. The R-330ZH system had effectively erased 22% of the attacking force without firing a single bullet or launching a single missile. But the Ukrainian operators had anticipated this electronic slaughter. The moment they realized the GPS data was compromised, they sent a command to the remaining 42 drones to sever their connection to the satellite network entirely. They switched to inertial navigation systems, relying on internal gyroscopes and accelerometers to guess their position based on speed and heading. It is the equivalent of closing your eyes, remembering where the door is, and trying to walk out of a room without bumping into the furniture. For a few miles, it works perfectly. Over 100 miles, the tiny mathematical errors accumulate, drifting the drone further and further off course. To correct this, The pilots had to manually log in to the nose cameras of the drones, using visual landmarks to steer. But video feeds over long distances suffer from brutal signal latency. The pilots were seeing where the drones were 3 seconds ago, not where they were right now. Flying at 80 miles per hour, a 3-second delay means the drone has already traveled over 300 feet before the pilot even registers the image. One pilot tried to dodge a communications tower he saw on his screen, but his input arrived too late. The drone clipped the steel lattice, snapping its wing and spiraling violently into the marshland below. The reliance on manual visual navigation created a deadly, unforeseen consequence. Because all the pilots were looking for the exact same geographic landmarks to guide them in the dark, they inadvertently funneled the remaining 41 drones into a single, predictable flight corridor. They had packed themselves together, making the job of the Russian defenders infinitely easier. Waiting inside this visual choke point was a new threat that did not exist on any battlefield even a year prior. At 0430, the sky around the Ukrainian swarm lit up with the thermal signatures of 30 Russian interceptor drones. These were small, electric, high-speed quadcopters, stripped of all unnecessary weight and outfitted with thermal cameras and explosive charges. They were essentially flying proximity mines. The interceptors dove from a higher altitude, using their superior speed to close the distance rapidly. A Russian quadcopter locked onto the heat plume of an FP-1's two-stroke engine, accelerating to 120 miles per hour. The Ukrainian pilot saw the incoming threat on his delayed video feed and threw his flight stick hard to the right. The FP-1 banked sharply, but the interceptor's autonomous targeting system adjusted in milliseconds. The quadcopter rammed directly into the drone's tail section, detonating its payload and tearing the tail completely off. The FP-1 flipped inverted and plummeted. The remaining 40 Ukrainian drones were being systematically hunted by a swarm of 30 Russian interceptor quadcopters. The math was brutally simple. Every interceptor was guaranteed a kill, meaning the attack force would be reduced to just 10 drones before they even reached the target area. The interceptors relied entirely on infrared seekers to track the hot exhaust of the FP-1 engines. Against the cold, dark backdrop of the night sky, those engines glowed like flares. It is the equivalent of trying to hide a lit torch in a pitch-black room. You cannot. But the Ukrainian pilots understood the physics of thermal imaging better than the automated systems hunting them. At 0432, the order was given to dive. The entire formation dropped from 500 feet down to just 20 feet above the surface, skimming the rooftops of an industrial district on the coastline. Down here, the thermal landscape was a chaotic mess of factory exhaust vents, cooling towers, and residual heat radiating from the concrete. The clear thermal contrast vanished instantly. The Russian quadcopters, their processors unable to distinguish between a drone engine and a bakery chimney, broke their locks. Several interceptors drove themselves straight into brick walls, chasing phantom heat signatures. The simple act of changing altitude had completely neutralized a highly sophisticated autonomous defense layer in less than 60 seconds. The swarm survived, but their numbers were still dwindling. At 0445, the surviving 32 drones breached the outer perimeter of the naval harbor. They were finally within striking distance of the Admiral Essen. Ashore, a Russian Pantsir point defense battery immediately detected the incoming threat. The system's phased array radar painted the formation perfectly, generating 32 distinct firing solutions in a matter of milliseconds. The battery was loaded with 12 supersonic surface-to-air missiles and twin 30mm autocannons. It possessed more than enough firepower to erase the entire remaining drone fleet before they crossed the breakwater. The commander simply needed to authorize the launch, but he could not touch the firing button. The drones were flying at 30 feet, directly over a sprawling coastal oil refinery that fueled the entire region. The intercept geometry meant that every missile fired would either detonate directly above the volatile storage tanks or miss and plunge straight into the cracking towers. It is exactly like trying to shoot a burglar who is holding your own child hostage. You have the weapon, but the environment completely strips you of the ability to use it. The multi-million-dollar air defense system was forced to sit idle and watch the cheap plastic drones fly right past its radar domes. The strategic infrastructure it was meant to protect had ironically become the ultimate shield for the attackers, paralyzing the defense network through pure positional geometry. The drones cleared the refinery and pushed out over the open water of the harbor. The final sprint was a nightmare of manual navigation. Because the GPS remained hopelessly jammed, the Ukrainian pilots had to fly entirely by delayed video feeds, threading their drones through a dense, vertical maze of loading cranes, dry docks, and moored cargo ships. Flying an 80-pound explosive at 80 miles per hour through a confined space with a 3-second visual delay requires an agonizing level of anticipation. You do not steer where the drone is, you steer where you hope it will be. 3 drones failed to make the necessary corrections. One clipped the steel cable of a heavy-lift crane and disintegrated. 2 others mistook the flat decks of civilian barges for their target and detonated harmlessly against rusted iron. The margin for error was absolute zero. But the pilots who survived the gauntlet were not just aiming for the massive hull of the frigate. They were executing a calculated surgical strike. A warship is compartmentalized to survive massive hull breaches, so sinking it with a small 80-pound warhead is nearly impossible. Instead, the operators targeted the ship's eyes and ears. They steered their drones upward, aiming for the delicate, exposed radar arrays and communication antennas mounted high on the frigate's main mast. Blind the ship, and you effectively remove it from the war without ever piercing the waterline. Aboard the Admiral Essen, the ship's automated defenses finally awoke to the imminent threat. The frigate's primary close-in weapon system, a massive rotary cannon capable of firing 5,000 rounds per minute, spooled up with a deafening roar. In theory, this system creates an impenetrable wall of lead, automatically tracking and shredding anything that enters its kill box. But the reality of combat rarely aligns with theoretical capabilities. Earlier electronic warfare engagements had severely degraded the ship's fire control radars, leaving the automated system struggling to lock onto the small, composite airframes of the FP-1 drones. The system was forced to fall back on its secondary optical trackers, but the sheer volume of targets overwhelmed the optical sensors. It is like trying to swat a swarm of angry wasps with a rolled-up newspaper. You might crush 1 or 2, but the rest are going to sting you. The cannons roared, filling the air with tracer fire that lit up the harbor. 4 drones were instantly sawed in half by the stream of heavy rounds, their debris raining down onto the deck in a shower of sparks. But the cannon could only track and engage a single target at a time. While it was busy destroying the 4th drone, the remaining 22 drones slipped through the gaps in the firing arc. They entered the terminal dive phase, accelerating toward the steel superstructure of the blind and desperate warship. 22 surviving drones pushed into the terminal engagement zone, their 2-stroke engines screaming over the water. Aboard the frigate, the crew realized the rotary cannons were failing to track the dispersed swarm. The ship's automated defense computer violently shifted tactics, launching 4 short-range surface-to-air missiles from vertical silos on the forward deck. These missiles are incredibly fast and maneuverable, designed to swat incoming anti-ship weapons out of the sky. But they rely on semi-active radar homing. They need the ship's primary radar to constantly illuminate the target so the missile seeker can ride the reflected energy. Because the electronic warfare environment was so heavily degraded by both sides, the illumination beam was shattered and inconsistent. The missiles launched flawlessly, punched through the sound barrier, and then immediately went blind. Lacking a continuous radar reflection to follow, their internal logic commanded them to self-destruct, to avoid hitting civilian infrastructure across the bay. 4 blinding flashes lit up the night sky, instantly vaporizing millions of dollars in advanced interceptor technology. The Ukrainian pilots saw the flashes on their delayed video feeds and understood the ship was out of automated options. The frigate's crew was now firing manually with heavy machine guns from the deck rails, a desperate, uncoordinated effort against a synchronized robotic swarm. The remaining drones entered their final dive, but a silent, invisible enemy began taking its toll. The sheer distance of the flight, combined with the erratic, evasive maneuvers required to survive the gauntlet of shotguns, spoofing, and interceptors, had decimated their fuel reserves. These drones carry exactly enough fuel for a one-way trip, with virtually zero margin for error. At 0455, 3 drones simply sputtered out, their engines dying of fuel starvation just 200 yards from the ship. They dropped into the harbor like stones, their 80-pound warheads sinking uselessly to the muddy bottom. The defense had won 3 more victories purely through the tyrannical physics of fuel consumption. But 19 drones were still flying and their pilots were hyper-focused on the frigate's main mast. The mast houses the multifunction radar, the satellite communication domes, and the electronic warfare antennas. It is the central nervous system of the warship. The first drone slammed into the primary radar array, its explosive payload shattering the delicate phased array panels into thousands of pieces of useless scrap. The second drone hit the satellite communication dome, severing the ship's data link with the Russian Naval Command. Two more drones struck the secondary target illumination radars, melting the intricate electronics in a massive fireball. The remaining 15 drones deliberately targeted the vertical launch system hatches, warping the heavy steel doors so they could no longer open to fire missiles. The engagement was over in less than 90 seconds. The Admiral Essen had not taken a single hit below the waterline. Its hull was perfectly intact, and its engines were fully operational. Yet the warship was completely finished. Without its radar arrays, it could not track targets or fire its long-range Caliber cruise missiles. Without its communication domes, it could not coordinate with the fleet. It had been reduced from a terrifying multi-billion-dollar instrument of strategic power into a blind, deaf, and helpless barge floating in a hostile harbor. The final arithmetic of the battle is the most chilling revelation for modern military planners. Russia expended millions of dollars in surface-to-air missiles, utilized high-end electronic warfare systems, deployed autonomous quadcopter swarms, and still failed to protect its most critical asset. Ukraine sacrificed exactly 60 cheap composite drones, costing a combined total of $1.8 million to completely neutralize a warship valued at over $500 million. The final payoff is not just the destruction of a ship, but the destruction of an entire military doctrine. Decades of engineering focused on building massive, expensive, impenetrable platforms had just been completely invalidated by cheap plastic, commercial electronics, and ruthless, improvised adaptation. The era of the untouchable superweapon is dead, replaced by a brutal new reality where the cheapest and most adaptable force owns the sky.